A house on the edge of the woods.
Out here it's safe and peaceful.
A family alone.
Mom?
Yes, sweetheart?
Can you leave the door open a crack?
A favorite uncle who needed their help.
Things haven't been going so good for me since I got back to this.
You could come stay with us.
But when they invited him in,
Think I better keep my eye on you.
they let in something they could never imagine or ever escape.
What's wrong with you?
Bad Moon. It doesn't have to be Halloween to be this scary.
So, Bad Moon comes from some interesting pedigree. It's written by the same guy who did this movie called The Hitcher in the 80s.
A little known film called The Hitcher.
Well, some people know it better than others. I'm old. He's kind of an interesting dude. He has usually a little bit of a mean spirit to his screenplays. But it's also
darker undertones.
It's also based off of, I don't know, I wanted to say young adult novel, but maybe it's just a novel called Thor.
I could see it as a very young adult because when you take out the werewolf aspects of this movie, it is a very young adult kind of film.
But Thor, the character, is the pet dog.
Yes,
the
beautiful German Shepherd.
Yeah. And in the book, the dog is the main character.
So it's from his point of view.
Pretty much. Oh. It's like basically the new guy comes to the family and he knows there's something up with him. And he's trying to let everybody know, but it's not happening. Now, from a motion picture standpoint, it would have been really interesting if they'd gone that way. And part of me almost thinks like missed opportunity.
What could have been? Yeah.
But instead, they're going to obviously focus on the human characters. Michael Paré is having a intimate moment with his girlfriend in a tent in
some jungle
somewhere, and
they had to let you know by all the traditional garbs that everyone is wearing.
They are attacked by some terrible beast. She is killed. He is wounded.
What a great mauling! I loved that.
That movie sort of lets you know right away, okay, this is a horror movie and it is rated R. If you do not like it, change the channel right now.
Here's some boobs, here's a whole bunch of gore, and they did not shy away from showing that this thing was destroying his girlfriend. Yeah. And then right away, and that definitely had to have been the last scene because they show the werewolf getting its head, like, not just shot, like
obliterated.
Yeah, that had to have been like the last thing that they did for this movie.
So interestingly, the psychology he puts to it is that he thought maybe he'd be safe with his family. The love of his family would somehow protect them.
Because all other routes have not worked for him. Yeah.
So he just returns home. He goes to stay with his sister and her son.
Well, the reason for that is because where he's parked his lovely trailer home, a bunch of surveyors have gone missing. So he's like, I better get out of here.
I better be someplace that is safe.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, like, we can maybe talk about the Michael Paré character as to how much he's fighting this in a given scene. Because sometimes I feel kind of sympathetic towards him, and other times he
has such an interesting character arc, is that towards the end he becomes 100% a villain.
Yeah.
And then the very last scene, not to give too much away, because we'll get there, is that he once again becomes sympathetic.
Well, he wants to be killed at the end.
Yeah,
but by that point, he's done a lot of evil, and he's sort of willingly done some of that evil.
Yeah, you do see that he changes even towards, like, because Thor goes from annoying him to, like, kind of hunting him, and he kind of, like, he wants to kill the dog, and he actually wants to kill the family after.
I think what's being implied here is that in the same way that Thor can sense that he's an enemy, he can sense in his bones that Thor is an enemy.
Yeah.
And I keep on talking about Thor because I really do wish that Thor was still the main character. I think the dog might have been in a lot of ways maybe a stronger actor than Mariel Hemingway.
I'm glad you got to that because, okay, how do I explain her?
She's not awful, but I just don't feel the stakes of the situation with her. As a parent, if I think that my son is at risk of being rended into pieces by a monster, I think that the emotional range on my face would maybe be a little bit more.
And you know what? I don't want to, like, say anything negative about her face, but it looks like the side of a climbing wall and has just about as much emotion. You know, like the rock climbing walls you go to rent out or whatever.
She's not super expressive, and that's the thing. Like, I've seen Muriel Hemingway in other things, and maybe she just wasn't in on being in a werewolf movie, or there was some extenuating circumstances, but she doesn't seem fully in it.
Yeah, like I find even the kid like outacts her in quite a bit of this, because even him showing like his regard towards Thor and being, you know, worried about it when she's kind of just like, oh, you know.
And yeah, the kid definitely being torn. He's missing a father figure, and having the uncle there will replace that. But his uncle's like doing all this super shady shit and getting his dog and thrown to the pound.
So this movie came out a year before American Werewolf in Paris.
Right.
And I have to say that this is also one of my favorite designs for a werewolf. Fantastic. I love that the face is fully...
The suit's awesome.
Incredible. Yeah, like there's a close-up where it shows the werewolf's face. I believe when it's attacking the
lawyer dude, or
the lawyer,
the scammer,
the scammer, right? Yeah, and it like its eyebrows are moving, its expression changes, and you can kind of tell that there's the electronic or the animatronics like pushing up certain areas.
Yeah.
But it looks fantastic,
and it's a fully articulated mask. They split the difference.
Yeah,
for the transformation, they do lean on the CGI, and
transformation is a little weak.
But once he's the wolf, I believe the wolf.
Yep, 100%.
And that is very important to me. I can forgive that. And like I say, they started with prosthetics on his face, and then just to morph him full into the wolf, they leaned into this CGI for a few seconds. They didn't make a huge fuss of it.
They didn't stick on it for too long, which is good, because you can tell, you know, you're watching, you're like, oh, that's not great, but they don't hold on to it long enough for you to really analyze it, I guess.
And once you've seen it once, you kind of know. Like,
yeah, you don't have to worry. You don't have to see every transformation.
Yeah, which is, I think, something that a lot of filmmakers would be tempted to do. Right? But it's interesting because we kind of feel for this guy, and yet his tactics are highly questionable. And he ties himself to a tree in the forest when he knows he's going to change to stop himself, but part of him wants to unleash the beast.
And I think that there's like a little bit. Maybe it's said in the movie. I don't feel it is, but there's that like primal urge that he kind of wants to give into, over the course of the movie. And like another interesting scene that never made sense to me, but I was always okay with it, is the surveyor in the woods when the wolf bites down on his helmet.
Right.
I was like, why was it hanging upside down in the tree? That's the only logical way it could have gone.
Seems like a panther move.
Yeah, exactly. But
this movie's fake, Busiak.
Are we to believe this is some sort of panther?
Oh, is it Tarzan the Wolf Man? This movie's bullshit.
I do love, though, that when his sister finally confronts him, that he just goes full, like, menacing bad guy and has, like, a whole monologue about everything.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know, again, it would be a weird thing to approach from an acting point, but he realizes that no, his family isn't safe, and no, his family is going to be a cure, and everything he's tried has failed.
And also his secret's out, which is something he wanted to hold on to very dearly.
Yeah, but I guess, he just tips over completely and says, well,
also,
if you're not going to help me, then I guess I'll have to kill my family?
Yeah, but also, like, even the younger boy, when he mentions something about werewolves transforming at full moons, and then he kind of like laughs it off, and he's like, no, it's every moon. Like, do you remember that scene?
Yeah, well, any night, yeah. I think that, well, I mean, maybe I'm just making shit up. Like, maybe you have to transform on a full moon, but you can transform on any given night.
Because it seems like because she asked him about that, is where do you go at night? Is that every night he has to go out and chain himself up, which is interesting to watch, is that not a lot of movies go with that, like, I'm controlling myself. Because it's all, a lot of those movies, it's always like, oh, it's happening, I don't know what to do, where he's got it under control and he has precautions, He even wears sweatpants so he doesn't ruin his pants.
Well, that would get expensive.
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously.
The pants cost of being a werewolf is high.
If you just threw your pants in the garbage at the end of every day, you would be spending like half of your money on that. He's
making conscious budget decisions when he goes out to transform. And I find that the climax of this movie reminds me so much of a 90s kids movie, where, he goes to the pound and he frees not
His
only
dog.
Thor, but doesn't he free like a bunch of other dogs
I don't
too?
remember him freeing all the other dogs. I do remember Thor doing like a littlest hobo.
Yeah.
He jumps onto a garbage can, then over the fence onto a car, and then down onto the ground.
And then it just shows him Thor books it directly from the pound to the house just to kick that werewolf's ass.
Yeah. If I was a little kid, and like this is the thing, I've talked about this in movies all the time, when the central character is a little kid, I almost never feel worried for them, especially if there's just one little kid.
Exactly.
They'll be fine. They may not know they're fine, but in my heart of hearts, I know they're fine. It's the rare horror movie, even these days, that will kill a kid. Even It only had one child murder in it. So, it's still a taboo thing. I can't fear for them.
Yeah.
But I can fear for the dog, because they'll always fucking kill the dog,
100%,
right? So when the dog is fighting this werewolf, I'm like, no, keep Thor. I love you, Thor. Don't die.
And that's something that always confused me with like watching this is I was like, how is this dog putting up such a fight against this werewolf? Has to be like 200 and some pounds, just raw,
easily twice the size in weight.
twice the size, on 2 feet, just a monster, and this dog's kicking his ass for most of it.
Oh, well, like she grabs hold of his throat and doesn't let go.
Yeah.
It's interesting, and again, because that really helped me for the climax of the movie, because I wasn't scared for Milo Hemingway, and I wasn't scared for the little kid, but there was a fair chance that Thor wouldn't make it through. He might heroically give his life to save the day.
Yeah.
You know?
And I like the ending of this movie a lot.
Yeah.
I think it didn't show anything it didn't need to. You know what I mean?
They have a little bit of like a false scare at the very, very ending, just one last little boo.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit of a cheapy kind of, and then all of a sudden the orchestra swells up and it's all happy and light again. And it's just something that's so done that I'm kind of like, okay, yeah. They always like to leave him laughing. It's like this stinger moment that they put in the other movie, but it didn't really need it. They could have probably just rolled credits with the werewolf getting killed.
100%. And, I would love to know what happened to any of the, the suit and stuff from this movie, because it was fantastic. I think that really makes this movie from being kind of an okay movie to like a really good werewolf movie for me. This is, at least in my top 10 for werewolf movies because of the prosthetics and because of some of the kills.
Yeah, and it's weird in that it's the same thing with actually that Stephen King one, Silver Bullet, in that it feels almost like a kid's movie, but it's way too fucking hard to be a kid's movie.
Yeah, and it's all the scenes that aren't violent or don't involve the werewolf where it does feel like kind of that like mom and son and the dad's not there and they have a rocky relationship or whatever, and the kid's best friend's a dog. It all feels like such a kid's family movie stuff.
And that the dog is the hero of the movie.
He's fighting off the scammers, and
he protects them from the scammers, and then he fights this werewolf, and even at the end, even wounded, he follows the werewolf into the woods and
to finish the job.
Changes back to Michael Perry, and Perry tells Thor to do it, and he.
I think that scene was supposed to be a little more impactful than it was, because it's kind of silly.
But again, he's talking to a dog.
Yeah, like the dog understands. He's like, oh, well, I wasn't going to kill you. I was just following you, but now that you said it.
With your permission, then.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Oh, so you've consented to me finishing you off.
But I think that sort of speaks to the movie, because like when we beat out the plot points, it sounds silly, but when you're watching it, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I don't feel like there's any point where it really throws you off with a weird cut to a story piece that doesn't matter. Even her finding the drawings and the writing and stuff, like it never feels like it takes a left turn.
No, and it's fairly efficient. It doesn't overstay its welcome.
Yep, 100%.
Like,
doesn't need a sequel, doesn't need a prequel. It's just one movie.
It does seem like one that a lot of people missed, though. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
I find it to be an underrated 90s film, as well as definitely a werewolf film.
Yeah, well, again, I find good ones so rarely. I have to champion the ones I do.
Exactly.